Hello, everyone. The topic for the day is workplace safety. We will try to understand what are the various hazards that are available in our office, in our workplace, in our organization, in a shop floor, and how to practice safe working environment. Probably so that no, there are less chances. I will not say no chances, but less chances of any accident occurring for any kind of nuisances. So here we go regarding workplace safety. Please listen to this video very minutely, for this will give you important takeaways to practice a safe place. So first and foremost thing, what are the benefits of having a safe work and a healthy place? Organization become more effective if they have a safer and healthier workplace? Definitely yes, because there are less disruption. They can have fewer days lost. Yes, definitely. No disruption, fewer days lost. No mishap, fewer days lost. So inadvertently it leads to a higher productivity, as the case might be. So to increase efficiency and quality, what do we go around it? How do we practice it? Because they have a healthier workplace and because the chances of accidents are very minimal, so they reduce insurance cost and medical cost. So it is a two-edged sword, right? In one of the edges you enhance your productivity, on the other hand edges you reduce your cost, if not direct cost, indirect cost in terms of medical and insurance. So they become a very good prestige for the organization, and everybody has an affinity across such organization. So result of unhealthy, we should understand the perils of unhealthy and unsafe workplace. What are they incur injury and diseases. They lead to mental health. For example, if physical disruptions are there, it definitely leads to a psychological issues as to what the security of the workman or the laborer or the employees are there. So if there are injuries, there leads to lack of job performances, reduces job productivity, enhances pain. So basically what happens around it, you need to tell it out, talk it out. So and the inevitably requirement, the unavoidable, or should I say very much avoidable, death and violences that take place in the workplace, also the economic cost that comes around with the death. In cases of death, there are disruption not only in terms of productivity but also enhanced cost of giving some kind of compensation, probably hiring some of the members of the deceased employee, and so on and so forth, which might not be in tune with the organization philosophy of practicing a safe environment. So definition of hazard: anything that causes harm is called hazard. Anything, be it chemical, be it fire, be it falling of heavy equipment or malfunctioning of any equipment. So potential of absence of substance, persons, or activity that causes harm or injury is hazard. Anything that is material, any substances, any chemical, any machine, anything that potential harms the human beings. In short, the employees are threatened, not directly but indirectly, has the potential to cause harm. That is what the definition of hazard is all about it. Not types of hazard. We need to go around it. So the condition which gives to a physical injury is safety hazard. The physical which has an infected, people get infected because of abuse of substances. When I say substances, it's a chemical. There people actually inhale chemical, goes into their lungs, and probably some kind of diseases, some kind of germs, some kind of malfunctioning starts occurring in the person altogether. So that may be directly into the body tissues or because of the occupational illness and whatever you may call it. So environment. Now we come to the environment thing. So first was safety in terms of physical injury, next was internal organs, which is called concern of health, and the last one would be of environment. All sort of pollution, be it waste, be it noise, or that impairs the quality of air, dust, snow, and types like thing. We have to address it. You need to understand any gases, any radioactive thing, any odors that get emitted from the organization is a hazard. So two main categories. What are they? One is a geological based and the other one is a sociological based. Remember, geological are not man-made. It is nature driven, a threat to naturally occurring events that have negative effect on people or environment. Let us understand flood. We have all encountered lightning. We have been hearing the news of wildfires, the earthquake, the soil erosions, the high wind, the tsunamis, the hurricanes, the heat waves, the famine, the climate change. In short, we call talk about it, and that is what is natural categories which comes under geographical. So we next would be the man-made or sociological threat that comes around it. This is because of negligence of human element. This is because of the error that the human being often overlook, often does not adhere to the strict standards of practices or procedure. If you call it a failure of human made system itself is what a sociological things are concerned. It's a huge loss of life. Remember, there are many airplane crashes which happen because of the error of the pilots, the social well-being, the fire, the flood, the crime, the arson, the looting, the rioting, the civil disorder, the terrorism, the war that is being raised around in Europe as of now. These are all man-made fallacies that comes around as far as the hazards are concerned. Then comes the technology factor. The technology is a hazard originated from technological or industrial utilizations altogether, including accident, dangerous procedures, infrastructures, failures, or specific human activities, property damages, loss of life, and so on and so forth. These needs to be taken into consideration. We talk about nuclear fallout. What is happening? Look at it. Russia is threatening Ukraine or the rest of the world with nuclear warfare. We have the chemical, biological, radiation, nuclear warfare that is which is popularly known as CBRN, and these are structural collapse, these are communication fallout, these are electrical fallout, explosion and outages that happen. In terms of industrial pollution is all about fires that we keep on talking again and again. Other categories, softly spoken, are behavioral categories. When a person is subjected to certain work and material for which results in physical harm, that is what health and injury is concerned. How people work, or should I say, if not, it will be very not wrong to say that they actually create hazardous condition human beings themselves because of their irresponsible behavior, because of the fact that nobody wants to own the responsibility, or should I say shoulder the responsibility. In fact, everybody is depending on the next best person to look after the last rights that needs to happen around it, the last thing that needs to be addressed along it, leaving objects in pathways, being callous in their workplace that causes obstruction and often dripping, which leads to serious health issues because people get falls down, people get harmed, and things can go wrong. If the machine is working and you have put one of your lips into the machine, things goes wrong. So running and rushing in a different workplace wherein the running is in a both way fashion, so one person is running from one direction and from the exact opposite direction there might be hordes of people who would be rushing through, so it is creating a problem for either of the scenarios. Using hazardous substances dangerously and carelessly is another basic issue that comes up with other categories of hazard. Remember, behavioral issues are avoidable and they are only being created by human callousness or attitude to work. Specific hazard. Now we'll talk about the specificities of hazard. What are the basic hazard that comes around it? We have the staircase, we talk about the platform, the ladders, the fires, the falls, the manual handling, the noise, the lighting, air quality, and so on and so forth. Then comes the mechanical issues of electricity, equipment, pressure, vessels, dangerous goods, forklift, crane. Everything comes party to it. Everything belongs to the specifics of hazard you calling around it. Next is chemical. Chemical substances are the most hazardous things that goes around it. Believe me, you are looking at your laptop or accessing this from your mobile. Everything is made up of chemical compound, the case, the wiring, the chips, everything. In fact, 90% of the life We are exclusively into utilization of chemical, and I am not talking about soaps and detergents. I am talking about anything which is plastic oriented. Any of the furniture, maximum of your cleaning equipment are all chemical laden. Then is the biological factors that comes around it. We have the bacteria, the viruses, the pathogen that comes around. We have the insects that goes around it, which needs to be taken around. We have to look into it. The psychological workplace that comes around it is the stressor, the economic strain, and so on and so forth, which comes with an overexertion. This is all about psychological specific of the hazard that comes. Now, I have told you the benefits and the demerits of workplace safety. What is there? What are the various kind of hazard that is been prevalent in the workplace? And I am talking workplace because it generalizes office space, it generalizes workshop, it generalizes industry, it generalizes organization, it generalizes corporate as totality. So, all aspects of the workplace should be covered with a general risk assessment process altogether that will reveal the specific hazard present and the control the measure, the likelihood of a substance, person, activity, or process to cause harm, injury, or illness. Risk can be reduced, hazards are to be controlled by good management that comes around it. We have to qualify, quantify things. Now, hazard reduction steps, what are they? Look for the hazard first and the foremost thing. Please try to identify. Once you have identified what is the hazard, remember any obstruction in the pathway. The most common area of sort of accident are staircases. Look, are there any blockages in the staircases? Assessment and evaluation decide who might be harmed, how and what it can be controlled, by what extent can it be controlled. That is what you look into it. Take the suitable precautions to remove it. Monitor, review, periodic checking is a must, is a requirement that you just cannot identify. So remember, identification, assessment and evaluation, we have the control, and last but not the least would be the monitoring and the review process that comes around it. Then comes the identification, that is all about it. We have to look about the sources, the employee safe, employee unsafe act. What are the best practices that can be adopted? What are the do's and don'ts that needs to be pasted in clearly bold and letters so that it attracts attention on the notice board, on the walls of the workplace? The operators, the investor, we need to give them the warnings, the safety, professional legislation, union training, discussions, complaint, interviews, every sort of nitty gritty of communication that you can possibly think of. Please go about forward. Please collate all those data points. Please collate everything and come up with a something sizable as far as the information source is concerned. Assess and evaluate those hazards. Now, once you have identified what is it, what you need to tell me the likelihood that it can cause the harm, under what condition it actually happens. At times everything is fine, but the lighting is very poor and it causes a problem. It actually leads into a lot of issues as far as physical injury is concerned. So what type of harm can it concern? Is it physical injury, is the cause of threat to the life? Is it anything that goes wrong with the machinery? And say about it, who or how many workers can be had? Take a proper realistic picture. What may be the extent of injury? What is their ability? What is the degree of disability that it might incur? Is it the loss of life? Is it the hospitalization? For how long? And what kind of treatment is there? Is there a history of problem, accident and dangerous occurrence from hazard that needs to be understood? What monitoring is needed to evaluate the risk? This very true. Now we're coming to the sources of a point. Now remember, add the source to the worker. This is the angle that goes around it. First is to eliminate, add the source. Can you eliminate it? Once and foremost, things are taken care of. If not eliminate, can you substitute? Go for a softer product instead of a metal edged equipment. Can we have something called polyethylene equipments altogether taken with a softer edge, with a rounder edge, and redesign the job flow or the work process altogether? Isolate if required, if it is untenable to replace the product, replace the accident prone area? Can we isolate the situation altogether and look forward? If you cannot even isolate, can the robot do it? Can it be assigned? Can it be totally mechanized version? So along the path there would be barriers, there would be absorption, dilution, guards, screen guards, and so on and so forth about it. People will not like to look into it. You have to mind it, have to motivate everybody to see for the difference, because at the end of the day it is the worker which is in the context. Any automated remote control rotation, rescheduling, personal proactive or something like that, people might resist, but there are no reasons for you to avoid it, because it leads to a healthier workplace, a safer workplace. People would not like to go for automation, people would not like to get isolated. So we need to have those guard, those screens, this exhaust system, the monitoring point that needs to go around it. This is what the along the pathways now, what we can do about engineering controls? So, removing the hazard from the workers, so what do? We can redesign it, redesign the workplace altogether. If not the workplace, then the work process altogether. Ensure proper professional installation of equipment and maintenance is done on a proper and a regular fashion. Isolation, lockout, design, monitoring, warning equipment, process and procedural challenges as you case up. Now we talk about knowledge, maintenance, plant and equipment. How do you administrative control, accident incident reporting procedures, effective safety policy procedures that needs to go around it, have a standard SOP, standard of procedures, pasted everywhere. What are the do's and what are the don'ts for the particular environment, a particular equipment, the particular office? Develop certain rules. What can the rules be provided? Let's say somebody certain door might be utilized only for coming in purpose. Nobody can make an exit through that particular door. There are different exit point altogether. So we can have different entry point, different exit point, so that people don't bump into each other. Performance measurement is another thing that comes across it. Here comes the performance measure. If you see you are going smoothly, the work is carried without any hinges, that means the performance is good about it. People are abiding or obeying the behavior that has been dictated to them. Good communication, use of job safety analysis is one more thing that goes around it. What is job safety analysis? Is utilizing proper equipment, proper things. For example, in the civil industry or in the construction industry, if you want to go, people should be wearing their helmet, they should be wearing boots and all, so that no nails that can be piercing their legs or anything, any of your limbs altogether. In chemical industry, proper gloving material, proper precautions needs to be taken care for. Housekeeping and maintenance means there should be proper alignment of good at a requisite places only, and they cannot throw it here and there. Monitoring performance and follow short of notice. Quality assurance and safety is essential, because this will ultimately lead to a proper mundane factor that will make the workplace a zero accident place altogether. Which is what we should all strive for. Then comes the personal protective equipment, as I was saying about it. As long as possible, insulate the workers from any sort of environmental issues that comes around in the work, be it the heavy equipments, be it the chemicals, be it the air pollution, be it the noise pollution. They should be wearing the ear caps and the headset altogether. Use only all options are exhausted. The hazard cannot be corrected through substitution or design. What are they? Selection, where there is no immediate way to control hazard by more than effective means. When employed as a temporary measure, the word is temporary and I'm stressing it out, while more effective solutions are being installed. So when there is a temporary measure, when you are moving from one flow to another flow, take extra precaution. What are the shortcomings? It just cannot be eliminated. Workplace safety can never be zero. Yes, we can aspire to be zero, but once in a blue moon, once in a couple of years, once in a decade, there might some accident, because at the end of the day, we are dealing with machineries. At the end of the day, we are dealing with workers, employees, and everything. A machinery can have a breakdown times. Employees or workers are emotional beings, and they might I suppose, I guess, might go out of hand at times. If it fails, the worker is exposed to full destructive effects of the hazard. So that should not be done, and it may be too cumbersome that can be interfere with workers' ability to perform tasks. Thus, the problem. So principles of prevention is to avoid. First and the foremost thing, evaluate the residual hazard, combat at the very source of it, adapt the work to the individual preferences, adapting on the technical progress, or probably by substitution if you can go across with it. You have to have a technical progress or the substitution that works comes around it. Develop a coherent involving all aspect at work. Collecting protection overrides individual protection. Appropriate instruction to all employees needs to be given, meted out, and they need to undergo a refresher course, a refresher training every now and then regarding the safety. Monitoring and review is what we talk about it. When new machines have been installed, this needs to be properly manicured and pedicured together. Where when I say manicured, is the machine that needs to be seen that whether they are optimally utilized, it is working funny fine or learn. Whereas pedicure would be the one who is operating those machines. They should have the full know-how why a particular machine reacting in a particular fashion. What are the metrics that has been showing? What are the stress sign? What are the perfect data that the machine is supposed to develop, and the worker has to keep trained to keep a note of it. So new machinery, changes in process, new hazard, these are all things that needs to be monitored. New hazard, new information, change legislation, change in workflows is, remember, now the machine is old, but there's a new person who is going to man the machine. Now this particular gentleman, this particular worker, this particular team of workers needs to be having a perfect session, a synchronizing session. They should be groomed, trained all together with the usage of the machine or utilization of the machine is concerned. So we need look at it, the new machinery and the new employees or change in employees that goes around it. And remember to do a post accident risk analysis is a must. So effectiveness of control, we need to understand what is the effectiveness of control that comes around it. If this can be taken into consideration that once hazard cannot be eliminated, controlling is a must. Controlling measurement to come down to a minimalistic level, if not zero, approximately approaching towards zero. Probably if we can have accident free time zone over a period of years or a period of decades of god knows what, the more the accident free the workplace is, the better it is for the workers, for the organization. Remember, I said the benefits are immense. Then the hazard should be controlled by applying contemporary and comprehensive proactive management style. Effectiveness must, what are the standards that go, it should sufficiently prevent the hazard from causing harm, be it chemical, be it technological, be it biological, be it environmental, be it social, be it geographical. Minimalistic harm that should come about across it. It must protect everyone who can be harmed from the hazard. It must not create new hazard or new production and quality control problems altogether. It must not create a hazard to the environment or the community of the workplace in the first itself. So, what are the various routes of entry in the body which comes around it? One is through inhalation. We actually inhale. To take breathing is to be in life. We need to absorb it through our skins. At times, our skins breathe. In fact, all the times our skin breathe. We don't only breathe with our nostrils, but also through our skin. So, things that might be permeated to, then we take something called in terms of taking food, the ingestion per purpose. You might accidentally something taken orally, or somebody must have injected something taken through the body through a broken skin or something like that. There might be things that might enter your system which causes a havoc. You see what a havoc that comes around it with the local system, with the systematic effect. It can affect your brain in a systematic fashion on a regular, prolonged exposure, circulation system, your liver, your kidney, your bones all get fragile with the local effect of being on the skin, on the lungs, and the intestinal tracts that affects it. So we have the biological elements that do it. We come to the fact end of this presentation. The most common route is inhalation. I repeat, inhalation. Take proper precaution. Utilize the marks which is required, because it causes immediate harm, and that can be very acute and very chronic. The harm is experienced immediately, and the effect is prolonged exposure to health hazard. That is meant around it. So we should be responsible. As a fag end of the presentation, how do we go around it? First and the foremost thing, remember the only word that is to be done out here is prevention. Prevention is the first and the safest word. Safety professional must familiar with health and safety issues in the workplace, because it is their responsibility to manage the safety and the health matters of the worker. Solicit the experts specialist services at the time of requirement, during the causal time of accident, for any successful safety management. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.